When a landlord tries to evict you, you are allowed to file something called a discovery form, which is asking questions of the landlord and asking for documentation from the landlord. And when I filled out my discovery form, I asked exactly as many questions as the housing clinic had said that I could ask, and I also asked for all the documents that I wanted. And because you could ask for as many documents as you wanted, and they didn't answer anything. They did not answer anything. I mean, they sent me something. Like they sent me first of all they didn't answer, they didn't respond at all to the discovery form until I filed a compelled discovery form, and then they sent me something like a few days before the trial or before the first hearing that literally just absolutely refused to answer almost all of the questions. And then didn't even provide the few documents that they said they were going to provide. I mean, it's actually in that discovery form. There are things that they said they would provide, like the rent ledger and some work orders, that they just didn't even say. They said they would send it to me, and they didn't. Right, and it also said that I had the right to review my entire tenant file. But when I finally got to have the meeting with them, which also didn't happen until the judge ordered it on September 20th. I had the meeting with them on September 25th. It was ordered on September 19th. They just give me a photocopy of something and say, okay, well this is your entire tenant file. So I didn't get to look at my file either. And then they and I would imagine that probably one of the reasons they asked the judge to say that I couldn't go into the property management office is because if I could go into the property management office, I could request that I'm able to read my read my tenant file. Right, that has something to do with it too. So the copy that I got of my tenant file, which did not have all the documents it was supposed to have, and maybe there were supposed to be documents there that they never put there. That's all I'm going to get, right? And now they've said I can't even go into the building. They probably had a specific purpose that way. In fact, I hadn't even thought of that until now. Anyway, I asked these particular questions. Right, this is a revised list of questions of requests for documentation that I presented to the judge on September 19th, which is when I had the first hearing, saying, okay, you know what, I noticed that, because I didn't know they had sent me anything, but it didn't even matter that they hadn't sent me anything, because they refused to answer all the questions and didn't even provide the documentation that they were going to provide when they sent me their version of an actual answer to the discovery form on September 16th. Yeah, so on September 19th, I mean, I had already kind of anticipated that some of the questions were asking for just information that wasn't necessarily relevant because it had to do with like the entire property, right? And since like a certain time in 2012, and I was like, all right, I need to revise this. So the night before the hearing, I made up this list of questions. I mean, I wrote out this list of questions, and I was like, I should have said what I had originally said in the discovery form, which was give documentation showing all the work done in and around the apartment, in and around the building, until a decision is made about the eviction. Because you can see from what happened today that they are going to harass me until the second that I leave. Right? They had the Heinz people out earlier. They had them out yesterday, and then whoever that was out there today. Right? Because it was literally it was just these are people who do not respond to anything except direct orders from authority, unfortunately, right? Because I asked these questions they had to answer until the last hearing, because I presented it on the 19th of September, and so they only had, hence because I wrote it this way instead of saying until whatever there's a final decision made, because I wrote it like this. It only applied until the last hearing, which was the second hearing, which was last week. Right, so they are going. I am sure they are planning to harass me until the second that I leave. All the time, totally lying, absolutely lying, and saying that I'm the one who's doing something wrong. Absolutely.